Hi, good morning, and welcome back to the Lamrim. And I don't know, us people at Diamond Mountain are feeling really happy. I don't know why. I don't know. Just being here. And we worked very hard yesterday to talk about how we could get ready for having you guys come here, maybe in October, late October, if the virus goes well. So I think it might be possible. So I hope so. Get your vaccinations, okay? All right. And, okay. We are in Chandakirti, so Master Chandakirti. So we took a trip to Master Chandakirti. Does anybody know why we took a trip to Master Chandra Kirti?
To get the wisdom wings from.
Chandra Kirti.
Versus Dharma Kirti?
I bow down to the, which moon? To the crescent moon, and not to the full moon. That's why we got off on Master Chandra Kirti, Mr. Famous as the moon in the sky, okay? Well known as the moon in the sky, okay? And there was this comment that Buddhas, what was the example of the station wagon? Come on.
Listeners and self-made Buddhas came from Buddha.
No, but what's the
example is that when you have bodhicitta, the Buddhas will drive your chariot.
Yeah, when you have bodhicitta, the Buddhas will drive your station wagon so you can have fun with your girlfriend in the back. And it's not an exaggeration. That's what the text said. Okay? Yay! Sounds good. All right. So, where's... Oh, Pal, you got my ear boy up, right? I can't tell. Okay, good. All right. So we were in the subject of what is a listener, because Chandakirti decided that at the very beginning of his book, the first thing he would say, he would talk about this idea. You know, why are bodhisattvas more important than Buddhas? You know, so he bows down. He says, Buddhas are cool because they are like mothers who give birth to two kinds of people. Listeners and medium Buddhas. But then somebody in the next line, they say, well, where do Buddhas come from? And he says, well, that's easy. They come from bodhicitta. And the conversation continues, okay? Don't forget this book by... Of course, Nagarjuna's wisdom is important, but it's 27 cryptic chapters of poetry. It's impossible to understand. We're working on it nowadays. We're translating it, and it's impossible, totally impossible. So Chandakirti's book, which you are studying, you have the honor of studying this week, is the mother book of all emptiness teachings in Tibet, in China, in Korea, in Japan, all of the great Mahayana traditions. This is the book. This is the most important book, okay? So you should get used to it, and you should dip into it once in a while, okay? That's what we're doing, all right? And it's we're dipping into the first lines. These are the opening lines, okay? And here we go. So we finished one idea of what's a listener. And he said, they listen to the perfect teachings, they meditate on them, and then they reach the enlightenment of the listeners. Yeah, the listeners. And then they help other people to hear them. And that's where so the listener is not only the practitioner who hears it first, but then they spread it by getting others to hear it. So they are listeners in two senses. They listen themselves, but they also cause other people to listen by teaching it later. But it's all lower track, okay? What makes it lower? They didn't get interested in the jumping planets. Okay, jumping planets, all right. Good, okay, so here we go. We're continuing with that. And if, I don't know, if the Tibetan should be Tupa Chepa Tsul. Tupa Che Tsul. Okay, cool. Thank you, Pao. So then there's a question, how do those guys teach? Okay? How do listeners get other people to listen? Because that's part of what their name means. They are listenizers. Listenizers? They get others to listen. Okay? Then Tsongkhapa, right? He says, well, how do they get other people to listen? And he says, it's very famous. Dita chawa cheso. Say chawa cheso. Chawa cheso. Now let's do the long version. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Drachomba. Say, just repeat. Drachomba. Sakpa sepa. Nyomong mepa. Wang tu kyupa. Sem shintu number dua. Chang shepa. Langbo chumbo. Chawa chepa. Chepa chepa. Kur porwa. Rangi dun. Jesu topa. Sipa. Kundu jorwa. Yongsu sepa. Yandapa kunshepe. I will stop there. It's too long. This is a very famous sutra that we use to take the one-day Mahayana vows. So it should have sounded familiar. Okay, this is a famous sutra that we always use when we take our one-day vows. And in the one-day vows, we traditionally, and don't forget, there's two kinds of one-day vows. One is Mahayana, and one is not Mahayana, just normal. And so in the one-day vow that's focusing on just general Buddhism, they make a big deal about if you practice this one-day vow, you will reach nirvana, okay? There's not so much about enlightenment, okay? So they quote the sutra that says, here's what it sounds like in English. I reached nirvana. I'm an enemy destroyer. I wiped out all my impurities. I don't have any negative emotions. I've got power. My mind is liberated. I know everything. I'm the great elephant. I did what I had to do. I do what I have to do. Okay, very famous. And I have thrown off the Geshe Michael backpack of all the problems. You know, like I used to have this crap carrying around on my back, and now I'm free. Okay, so when Tsongkhapa asked the question, what do the listeners say to other people? He quotes that line. He quotes that. He says, oh, they go around saying, I did what I had to do. You know, I'm finished. You know, chawa chepa, korporwa. I dumped off the heavy backpack of my 5 heaps, okay? Of my 5 impure heaps, okay? Very, very famous. So if anybody ever asks you, what's a listener? You're going to say they listen to the teachings, but then they also help others to listen. Well, what do they say to other people? Chawa chepa, chepa chepa, kopowa. I'm done, man. I'm out of here. Okay, it's like that, all right? That's what they help other people to listen to. Got it? All right, let's go back to our detour. And there should be a picture here of a guy. Yeah, he's like saying, look, I'm done. This picture of a guy who's like, look, I'm finished. I did what I had to do, okay? And wouldn't it be nice to say that? You know, how do you feel this morning? I'm done, man. What do you mean? Like, I don't know. I'm never going to be jealous again. I'm never going to be angry again. I'm done. It just happened this morning. I'm so happy. You know, no more dental problems. I'm done. You know? Okay. Then this guy comes up to Tsongkhapa and says, that's not correct. And he says, why not? And he says, you don't have arhats in the formless realm? He's like, yeah, you got arhats in the formless realm. Who's listening, please? To what? There's no sound in the formless realm. Okay? The guy's like, I don't like this idea of listener. What about the formless realm? Are there arhats in the formless realm or not? Yeah, there are some. Well, what do? They can't listen and they can't help other people to listen. There's no sound in the formless realm. Then Tsongkhapa says, child of the lake. For $100, cat, it's in the Vajrayogini practice. But what's it stand for? I mean, don't tell me the second meaning, tell me the obvious meaning. No, but what's it represent? What's the word mean? Child of the lake. Huh? It's a lotus flower. Yeah, okay. Then that has a deeper meaning that we can't talk about. Okay, so anyway, Tsongkhapa says, don't forget Saroja. Say Saroja. Born of the lake. Saroja. Which means the child of the lake. We translate it as child of the lake. I like it. And it means the lotus. It means the lotus flower, okay? Then he says, Saroja. And the guy says, what are you talking about, Saroja? I didn't ask you about Saroja. I was asking you about the formless realm, and nobody can talk there because there's no sound. And Tsongkhapa says, Saroja. And that's a $1,000 question. If Word was here, he might get it. But thank goodness he's not here. My life is much cheaper when he's not here. What it means is, when we apply names, sometimes they are literal, and sometimes there are exceptions. Okay, when you make a name, when you call somebody a name, sometimes it describes them actually, grown from the lake. But there are lotuses that grow on dry land. There are kinds of lotuses that grow on in dry soil and not on the lake. But we still call them born of the lake. We still call them born of the lake. So Tsongkhapa says, look, we use words sometimes descriptively and sometimes definitively. Okay? And born of the lake is descriptive. It's not definitive. It's not that every lotus in the universe has to grow from a lake. But we like the word. It's a cute word. We use it. Why did he say that? Yeah, look. Yeah, some listeners do help other people to listen, and some listeners are in a realm where nobody talks. But that doesn't mean we can't call them listeners. It's like born of the lake. Got it? It means there are exceptions. Okay, there are exceptions. But that doesn't mean we can't use the word. It's a cute word. It's a nice descriptive word, even though it's not definitive. Okay, cool? All right, Muming Dujupa means definitive, and that's a long story. Okay, and we're gonna show a lotus picture. Pao's gonna show a lotus picture, yay. I don't know if that's a Saroja or not, but it is a Saroja, right? We can't see the water. All right. First time I saw a real lotus, we landed in Bangalore in India, which is called the Garden City of India. And all the waste matter from the whole city, like 10 million people, is simply poured out into the ground. And it flows in a big river to the west. And there's a huge lake to the west of the city of Pupu. And you have to go through it to get to Sera Monastery. You have to drive through it, and it's unbelievable. But there's beautiful lotuses coming out of there. So anyway, then I said, stop the car, I want to get a lotus. I said, no. Anyway, okay. Yang na nyentu kekedu. Then Tsongkhapa says, let's look at the Sanskrit word for listener, and it will help us appreciate who these guys are, okay? Which is Shravaka. Say Shravaka. Okay. Yeah, listener, okay? Tedro, in Tibetan, it's two parts, right? Shru and Aka. right? Shru aka. Shru means to listen or to hear. And then aka means hearer or doer. And the Tibetans translate it as hearing and proclaiming. Hearing and proclaiming. Shrava, ka. Shrav, aka. Shru, aka. Okay? He says, let's look at the Sanskrit. Layang Jupatana. Let's understand listeners more by looking at the Sanskrit word for listener, which literally means to proclaim what you heard. Shrava ka, shrav aka, okay, shru aka. All right. Yang Jupatana, Debe chokam sange so drupe lam, sange namne tene. They hear from the Buddhas the path to get to enlightenment. They study, they hear, they listen to the whole teaching of the whole Buddhist path on how to get to highest enlightenment. Okay, they hear it, they listen to it. Don't forget there were two parts, right? Proclaim and listen. Listen and proclaim is shravaka, okay? Listen and proclaim. So Kappa says, look, we can understand more about these guys if we look at the Sanskrit, which is shrav aka. Listen and proclaim. Okay? And then he says, listen to what? They listen to the whole path from the enlightened ones. Then they aka, they proclaim it. Okay? To whom? To people who are interested in the Mahayana. To people who are interested in bodhisattva. Okay, bodhicitta. Okay? There's guys called listeners. In Sanskrit, their name is listeners and proclaimers, shrav aka. And what do? They listen to the highest teachings. And then they can repeat them to people who are interested in the highest teachings. Okay? What's the implication? Yeah, they don't practice it themselves. Okay? So far we had guys who heard some stuff from the Buddha, enough to get to nirvana, and then korporwa. They dumped their load. Okay? Literally. Okay, meaning they only reached nirvana. That was the first explanation of listener. Now Tsongkhapa says, hey, if you want to look at the Sanskrit, it's deeper meaning. They can listen to all the Buddhist teachings, including bodhicitta teachings, and they can even teach them to other people, but they're not interested to practice it themselves. Okay, and so listener becomes kind of a put down, right? Derogatory in a way. Okay, all right. Now we're going to cover a whole subject called Tattva Buddha. Say Tattva Buddha. Tattva Buddha. Tattva Buddha. And then Tsongkhapa says, if you guys understood the idea called Tattva Buddha, this whole thing, we could clear up this whole question about who's getting born from who, and who's a listener, and what does it mean to be a medium Buddha, and is that a real Buddha, or is it not a real Buddha, because it's not a full Buddha, it's only a half Buddha. You can call them half Buddhas, okay? This whole question about listeners, half Buddhists, and full Buddhists who want to drive the station wagon, for the bodhisattva who wants to have fun, okay? You can understand everything if you just understand Tattva Buddha, okay? Say Tattva Buddha. Yeah, okay, good. Tattva, tat means that, okay? And TVA makes it into an abstract noun. So tattva means suchness, thatness, okay? Tattva means suchness, okay? Tat means that or such, and then twa means ness. Twa is found in English as Tion, locomotion, election, I don't know, all those shun verbs, okay? Nouns, okay? Okay, so tattva means suchness, which means what? Emptiness, okay? Then what's Buddha? It means to understand, to grasp something. Okay, the literal meaning of Buddha is to grasp, and it came into English for $20. Video. Okay, to see. Okay, Bud came into English as vid, to see, vision, wisdom, wiz. Wiz comes from viz, comes from Bud. Okay, they all mean the same thing. Okay, then he says, let's go that way. Okay, let's try to listen. The idea of Tattva Buddha, which means what now? To understand suchness. Okay, applies to this discussion. Listeners, let's call them half Buddhas. It's kind of cool. Medium Buddhists, okay? Listeners, what's their other name? Self-made Buddhists, yeah. And total Buddhists. What do you call it? Fully enlightened Buddhists, okay? These three guys, Tattva Buddha applies to all of them. And if you understand how they all understand suchness, then we can clear this whole thing up about what? Parentage. What do you call that? What's the other fancy word for parentage? It comes up with DNA tests for kids. Paternity suits, yeah. Okay, we can understand this whole maternity-paternity thing if we understand Tattva Buddha. Okay, that's Tsongkhapa. Okay, here we go. And then he turns to the Lotus Sutra. Okay, so it's such a famous sutra, and it's so beautiful. I was not to digress, which I never do, but the first job I ever had from my teacher was to be his driver and cook for him to go to Washington, D.C. for 3 months and learn English. So, I had to drive him there, and I had to be his attendant at a Sinhalese monastery. They call Vihara, right? And we got there, and they said, who's this, American guy? And he said, this is my driver, this is my cook, And they said, he can't stay here. He's not a monk, At the time, I wasn't a monk, so they said, he can't stay here. And then my teacher's like, but I can't get to the school to learn English if I don't have a driver. And they said, tell him to go ask the guys across the street, And across the street, there was, next to Catherine Graham's house, who owns the Washington Post, whose family owned the Washington Post, there's a huge mansion, and it was the embassy of Nigeria or something. And some wealthy Japanese businessman bought it, and he made a monastery. And there was one monk in the monastery. They said, he has a 20-room house. Go ask him if you can stay there, and then you can come across the street when you need to cook, And I'm like, okay. And I went over there, and he didn't speak much English. We found a translator. He's this old Japanese monk. We figured out he probably fought against my father in the Pacific. And so we're talking to each other, and he said, okay, I understand. You want to stay here? I said, yeah. He says, okay, 3 o'clock, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. 3 o'clock, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. I'm like, what's Nam Myoho Renge Kyo? This is the Lotus Sutra. These are the first lines of the Lotus Sutra. If you recite with me 3 hours of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo every morning at 3, you can stay here. You have to beat the drum. And I'm like, oh my God, And so I said, I'm sorry, I have to ask my teacher. He said, ask your teacher. No Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, no sleep. Here. So I went to Rinpoche, I said, he says I can stay there. He says, good. But he says I have to get up at 3 o'clock and recite Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. It's Lotus Sutra for 3 hours and bang on the drum. Rinpoche says, do it. And I said, well, what am I supposed to think about while I'm doing that? He said, review the Lam Rim in your head. Just forget what you're saying and just go through the Lam Rim in your head. and bang the drum, you know. Every time you bang the drum, think of the next part of the Lam Rim. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And so I did it. And everything went very, what do you call it? We didn't fit. But we worked together, and we worked together. And one day I was way up in a tree, and he was holding the ladder, and the branch came down. I was supposed to cut the tree. And then he ran away and with the ladder. And I was like, dude. And then after that, we became really close friends. And then one day he said, okay, you keep the monastery. I'm leaving. And I'm like, what? And he says, you keep this mansion. You can have it, you know. I'm leaving, you know. And I'm like, well, where are you going? He said, I decided America needs Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. And I'm going to walk to Los Angeles with my drum. And he did. He walked to Los Angeles and back with his drum. And he did Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. But I had a choice of being with my teacher or having this mansion. And I decided to stay with my teacher, luckily for you guys. Okay, Geshe-la, can you get back to the subject? Lotus Sutra. Tsongkhapa says we can use the Lotus Sutra here, okay? And by the way, there's 2 Lotus Sutras, and that's a long story. He says, in the Lotus Sutra, which is called the White Lotus Sutra, it says, Gumbo tering dakchak nyentu gyur, changchu dampa yanda darpa gi, changchu pai dayang rabdu che, dewe dakchak nyentu misendar, okay? Hey, protector, this is the Buddha's disciples talking to the Buddha. Gumbo, O protector, tering dakchak nyentu gyur, today we became your listeners. This is where the whole listener thing comes from, is the Lotus Sutra, okay? So in the Lotus Sutra, the Buddha's students say to the Buddha, oh Buddha, we're so happy, today we became your listeners, okay? And then they say, what's a listener? Chanju Damba Yanda Dapa Gi, we will proclaim this highest enlightenment in the world. You know, probably we'll go out with our drum and Nam-myoho Renge-kyo to San Francisco or LA, you know. By the way, it's a beautiful practice, and I think it did help the United States. So anyway, we promise to spread this highest teachings of the teachings of highest enlightenment. Okay, then they say we will tell everybody about this enlightenment. Did you hear a change in the sentence? In the second line, we will spread this highest enlightenment. In the third line, we will tell everybody about enlightenment. They don't mention highest. Okay. In the second line, they say, we have learned from you about highest enlightenment. Now we will tell everybody about this enlightenment. Okay. It's important. Okay. Last line, Dewe Dakchak Nyentu Misindra. Therefore, from now on, you can call us your listeners. Okay. Therefore, from now on, Buddha, you can call your students your listeners. Why? 2 reasons. We listen to your teachings, and we help others to hear them. We proclaim them. Okay, got it? This is where the whole word Shravaka came from the Lotus Sutra. Okay, cool? Now you're listener experts. Those who are listening. If it ever comes up now, you know where it came from. Now, there's a problem with the verse. There's a famous problem with the verse, okay? And someday, maybe Tim can translate the Lotus Sutra. I don't know, but it's pretty common. You're going to do something else. I think. You're going to do Chonin Lama's channels, I think. Anyway, there's a famous problem about this highest part, you know. Do they listen to the highest enlightenment, and do they spread the highest enlightenment? That's a question, okay? Here we go. And I have a picture, Pao, of somebody proclaiming something, okay? This is, I don't know, I always think of this picture. This guy's going, hey, everybody, you know, there's a Lam Rim going on in Diamond Mountain, you know. This is Tim trying to find people to come to Lam Rim. Hey, Okay. Okay, good. All right. Gyuten dini chanju sambalani niente dandawe gyuten yinla. So really, this quotation is the ultimate source of the idea of a listener and his two jobs, or her two jobs. One, listen to the teachings. Two, help other people to hear them, proclaim them, spread them. Okay, shrub, akka. Okay, all right. Tudro. This is where it all comes from. Kachik. What's that mean? Tim. Kachik. Yeah, the other guy. Now, somebody, whenever you see the word kachik, someone's going to cause a problem. Okay, it's like at Diamond Mountain, and somebody says, about my room. They're like, oh no, what's wrong with your room? Yeah, I don't know. I got a javelina who lives in the bathroom or something. Wild pig. Okay, kachik kamba sumala dambe damepe. Now a kachik comes and tries to cause some trouble. He says, did you notice that in the third line it's missing the word highest? Therefore, when these guys listen, they listen to the highest teachings, but when they proclaim them, they only proclaim the lower teachings. Okay, he says, that's not my position. That's your Lotus Sutra, Tsongkhapa. Okay, he says, you chose the wrong sutra. It's obvious these guys don't proclaim the highest teachings. Okay, Chimani Nyantuki Chanchu Sir Merkyang means, yeah, you can say that, but it's wrong. Okay, Tsongkhapa says you're wrong. Why? Dambuni Techengi Chanchu, yeah, the first enlightenment, the highest enlightenment, does refer to bodhicitta enlightenment, right? The one you give. But the second one, they just left out the word highest because they wanted to emphasize that it was the vehicle. It was the way to get to the teachings. So they didn't repeat highest. Okay? That Tsongkhapa's like, don't hassle me. All right? They did listen to the highest teachings, including bodhicitta, and they do pass them on, even though they may not practice them. Okay, good. Chanch sem nam kyang sangye, kilam sangye la tene, duja la sokpe, drokpe, nyen tu sugyuro nyamna. Then Tsongkhapa says, a question may come up in your minds. Are bodhisattvas listeners or not? In this sense. Is a bodhisattva a listener? Don't forget we have 3 levels of practitioner. What? Listeners, medium Buddhists, half Buddhists, and full Buddhists. Okay? So then these are the bodhisattva guys up here. And Tsongkhapa says, how about we collapse it to 2 kinds? Why? Because aren't the bodhisattvas listeners in this idea, in the Lotus Sutra way? Don't they learn the highest teachings? Don't they pass them on to other people? Don't they fit the Lotus Sutra? Let's collapse it to 2 paths. Okay, Tsongkhapa is proposing, right? Okay. Yeah, you're right, but just no problem. Yeah, you're right. What are they right? Bodhisattvas do listen to the highest teachings, and they do proclaim them to other people, but that don't make them listeners. That don't make them lowest track. Okay, because lowest track means they hear it, they teach it, but they don't practice it. And that doesn't apply to bodhisattvas. Got it? Mm-hmm. You're never going to forget now about listeners, okay? Good. Dropachepa yinki jesu timbatamya ranki mindupa samba yimbiso. Yeah, they don't practice it. Ranki mindupa means they don't practice it themselves, okay? The other listeners. So it doesn't apply to bodhisattvas. All right, and the picture is a lady. Why did I choose this picture? She's covering her ears.
She's not a listener.
Yeah, she's not yeah, good. She's a bodhisattva. Because she's not listening to the lower path. Okay, got it? She's not listening to the lower presentation. No. Hey, just take care of yourself. Reach in nirvana. Chawa chepa, korporwa, sipa kundujoro sepa. Just dump your load. And she's like, what? Who's she? She's a bodhisattva. Don't tell me about this personal nirvana thing. I'm not interested. I want to help everybody. Okay? Don't tell me about making myself happy. That's not happiness. Happiness is making everybody happy, including me. Okay? All right. Now Tsongkhapa has covered listener. Guess where he's going next?
Those meetings.
Yeah, what's a half Buddha? What the heck is a
They
half?
have the body, the mind, the Buddha's mind.
They have the Buddhist mind. Yeah, what does it mean to be a half Buddha? That's a weird word. Hey, what are you? I'm a half Buddha. Oh, is it the upper half or the lower half? I don't know. If you're going to ride this thing in our room, in the next room over here, you better have the lower half. And that's an inside. If you want to know that joke, you have to come to Diamond Mountain. Okay, so now Tsongkhapa is going to cover half Buddhas. Okay, what the heck is a half Buddha? All right. Why are we covering half Buddha? Because Chandakirti mentioned it. Why did Chandakirti mention it? He was talking about two kinds of practitioners who are born from the womb of full Buddhas. Why did he talk about that? Because he wanted you to get in the mood of asking what womb do people come from, because he's gonna get to how full Buddhas come from the womb of bodhisattvas, crescent moons, and not full moons. So we better we better drive their station wagon. Got it? Yay. All right. Sangye ding shepe, sangye ni. Then Tsongkhapa says, what the heck is this self-made Buddha? What's a half Buddha? Okay. Jalpa sangye ki deni kansa sumchala jukte. In the commentary, which means Chandakirti's commentary to his own book, there's a famous, long auto-commentary to Entering the Middle Way. Okay? So the most famous book, the book which triggered the emptiness teachings of all of Asia, all of North Asia, the Mahayana countries, the book which triggered that has its own explanation, and it's big and it's difficult, okay? And nobody works with it because it's too difficult, okay? That's why you need some couple. In the commentary, he says, Sangeki Deni Kansa Sumcharla Jukte. Buddhahood, enlightenment, can apply to all three. The idea of enlightenment can apply to all three. Listeners have an enlightenment, half Buddhas have an enlightenment, self-made Buddhists, and full Buddhists have an enlightenment. There's three enlightenments going on here. So in that sense, they are all Buddha. Okay? That's why a half Buddha can be a Buddha, because they do have some kind of enlightenment. They do understand, they are enlightened about something. There's three enlightenments going on here. What's the Sanskrit? Tattva Buddhas. There's three Buddhas going on here. What? Tattva Buddhas. They're all enlightened about Tattva. What's Tattva? If you are enlightened about suchness, are you necessarily fully enlightened? No. Good. We're on the right track. All right, here we go. Kachi Tattva Buddha. Now Tsongkhapa gets us to where we were trying to get today. And we're doing good, Tim. I think we're going to make it. Tattva Buddha. Okay. Now he says this is where Tattva Buddha comes up. Okay. This is where enlightened about suchness comes up. Okay. Three kinds of enlightenment about suchness. And why can we call a half Buddha a Buddha? It's not because they're a Buddha. It's because they Buddha. They get it. They Bud. So they're Buddhists, but they're not real Buddhists. Got it? They Bud, but they're not Buddha. Okay? What's Bud mean? They get it. Okay. What? Tattva. Okay? Suchness. If you see emptiness directly, do you have to be a Buddha? No. But are you a Tattva Buddha? Yeah, because that Buddha means you understand it. You get it. You saw it. Okay? So here's some couple. Kachi Tattva Buddha Shepita Kasa Sumgala Jupa Chepita. He says, Chepatar leg. Leg means lexo. What's that?
It's true.
Yeah, I like it. Tsongkhapa says, I like it. Some people go to Tattva Buddha here to explain this problem about 3 levels. He says, lexo. I like it. When Tsongkhapa says I like it, it's damn good. Okay? It means I think it's damn good. I love this Tattva Buddha thing. Okay? And then he goes to explain the word Tattva Buddha. Okay? And he says, what's Tattva? De konani. They say de konani. Suchness. De kona. De kona means just that. And ni means ness. This, just thatness, is the Tibetan translation of tattva. Just thatness. It means emptiness. Okay? It means emptiness. Tattva. He says tattva means just thatness. Buddha means kongduchupa. Kongduchupa means fully grasp, to really get it, okay? Shepichunune. Deni tope Buddha da dunda chepite, okay? Tende, what's the point? The point is that all 3 levels have Tattva Buddha. Why? They all saw emptiness directly, okay? Which proves you don't have to be a what to do what.
You don't have to be a bodhisattva.
Yay! You should have waited till I offered some money. Anyway, she just gives it away in 10 minutes later. Yeah, okay. So, Deni Tobe Jay Rang Sangele. So everybody, even half Buddhas, are Tattva Buddha. Okay, are they Buddhas? No. Are they Tattva Buddha?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Yay, Sangye Sekuro. By the way, but they will become Buddhas because they Tattva Buddha. If you Tattva Buddha, you're halfway there. Okay? If you see emptiness directly, you're halfway to becoming a real Buddha. Okay? All right, Chir Buddha Da. And then it's a beautiful sentence. It's this book, Tsongkhapa's ultimate work on emptiness, Gompa Rapsa, illumination of, what is it? Of the true thought. You gotta let me finish it. You guys gotta let me finish it, okay? Please let me finish it. Don't put all these... Okay. If you just... Anyway, I'm not going to complain. All right. He says, generally, the word Buddha means enlightened being. But, what's he going to say? Cup dir, mitsamo. But it don't fit the context here. Mitsamo. Tsam means retreat border, right? But if you spell it a little differently, it means to fit the occasion. So he says, enlightened being doesn't quite fit here because you should understand that the word Buddha has 2 other meanings. The word Buddha has 2 other important, beautiful meanings, okay? And it's very beautiful, It's so beautiful to know what the word Buddha means. Which if you send me emails about how irritated you are at your closest friends, I won't have time to translate it. Do you understand what I'm saying, you guys? All right. Any personal problem you're having, my advice is wait 6 months. They'll die, you'll die, things will change, okay? It's easy. This is from an old man, just wait 6 months. Wait 6 years, you can't remember their name. Okay? So just chill out. Go back to your meditation. Don't worry about irritating people. Okay, anyway, that's my universal email response. Buddha Jani Pem, he says, here's the 2 meanings of Buddha, the word Buddha. Special meaning. Number 1, Bedma Dabgeba. What's a Bedma? Saroja. A lotus. The opening of the petals is called Buddha. Okay? The opening of a lotus petals is called Buddha. Okay? That's the other meaning of the root Bud. It means Buddha. Okay? Cool. Or Ni Sepa. Ni Sepa means to wake up from a deep sleep. Okay? Ni Sepa. Buddha means the lotus opens. Buddha means the snorer wakes up. Wakes himself up, probably. Okay. That's a self-made Buddha. We got it. The secret transmission. Again, he says, don't think that the word Buddha has to apply to a fully enlightened being. It doesn't. It can mean an opening of a lotus. It can mean someone waking up. It can mean someone suddenly understanding something. And by the way, at that point, he quotes a very difficult book of Sanskrit that was translated into Tibetan. Okay. And we spent quite a while getting that. We have some other picture here, some lady waking up. Yeah, I like this lady, okay? She's Buddha, okay? This lady is Buddha. She just got up. She just woke up, okay? All right. Now Tsongkhapa says, what do you think we have a principle in the Mixed Nuts translation team, which is very important for translators, okay? And you close your eyes and you ask yourself, what's next? If I'm Tsongkhapa, I covered listener, I covered half Buddha. What's next?
What do they do? And how do they become?
I'll say it again. It's a pun. I covered half Buddha. I covered the Buddha part.
What's the other half?
Yeah, what's the other half, which is? Half. No, it's half. Got it? The other half he didn't talk about yet is half. Okay, half Buddha. So he said, I covered the Buddha. You got it, you guys? Wake up, flower opening, doesn't have to mean enlightened being, can mean understand emptiness directly. These guys do understand emptiness directly. That's how they get to the throwing off their load. Okay, but what the heck is half? Why did he say half Buddha? Okay, so naturally he's going to talk about that. Okay, that's called ding. Say ding. There's another famous ding in the Lam Rim for $50.
One of the lamas that Gentle Colorado is doing.
Yeah, good. Medium length Lam Rim. But there's also, by the way, you got $25, okay? And there's also Kibur ding, ding people. Ding people, what's that mean? In the Lam Rim, what is a medium person?
Oh, medium capacity.
Yeah, medium capacity. Yay, that you got the 25 and you got the 25. Okay. But this is the word that Tsongkhapa uses for half Buddha. Ding, the middle one. Okay. Here's the listeners, here's the full Buddhas, and here's the self-made Buddhas, halfway to full Buddha. Okay, halfway Buddha. Okay. What separates? Now here's the big question. What separates these guys from these guys? Here's Geshe-la's fingers, okay? What separates, here's listeners and proclaimers, right? And here's half Buddhas, and here's full Buddhas. What's the difference between these two guys?
They don't listen to a teacher.
It is, but the classic answer, okay? These guys have 100 kalpas of practice on these guys. These guys have 100 kalpas of practice on these guys. These guys have been at Diamond Mountain for 100 kalpas. These guys just got there. Okay, this is Kading, okay, and I don't know, these are those babies who are showing up nowadays. Great babies. We got great babies coming to Diamond Mountain. We got We got beautiful young people volunteering here. So anyway, next generation, right? So how long is a kalpa? I once worked on it for like a week. And no answer, sorry. And you won't find one in the scriptures. They will say, call it 500 billion years or something, okay? I don't know, 500 million years, okay? These guys have 100 kalpas on these guys. So don't complain if you have to practice another month. How do you graduate from being a listener to being a half Buddha? It's simple. Tsongkhapa says, look, it's simple. You just have to practice a couple billion more years, okay? And then you get here. By the way, that's what makes Tantra so attractive, right? You don't have to do these billions of years stuff. In one lifetime, with a practice like Medicine Buddha Tara, Vajrayogini especially, you can reach full enlightenment. You could save all that time, okay? Why is it important to save time?
Because we'll help more people.
People are hurting. People are hurting. Every moment you delay, someone's getting hurt. Someone's brother's dying, somebody's got cancer. Every day you waste, someone's getting hurt, okay, who didn't have to get hurt. All right? Don't feel guilty. But you should, okay. All right, so Gondo Pewe Kepaki. So that's the main difference. Now, $1,000. Oh my God, we got 4 minutes left. $1,000. Some people try to say the difference is different. It's not how much time in. The difference between a listener and a self-made Buddha, okay? Some people say that's not the difference. Some people say differently. Tim might know. Some people want to say there's a different difference between these first two guys.
Kat said they don't have a teaching.
Nope. Yay, nobody got it. Some people say they see a different emptiness. Okay? Some people say they see a different degree of emptiness. And then the lower middle way school, the main reason it exists is to describe the degrees of emptiness, okay? Like level 1 emptiness, and level 2 emptiness, and level 3 emptiness, like that. They want to have different kinds of emptiness. They want to have different degrees of difficulty emptiness, okay? And that's where you start getting into the mind-only school emptiness, you know, and all kinds of things like that. Every Buddhist school has a different idea about degrees of emptiness, you know, deeper emptinesses than other emptinesses. And just because we're going to end the class pretty soon, what's the highest school say about that? No difference. If you see it once, if you're on a listener track and you couldn't care less about jumping planets, and you just want to save yourself, and you don't care about other people, but you see emptiness, you have seen the exact same emptiness that the Buddha is looking at now. There's no difference between how a fully enlightened Buddha sees emptiness and how a selfish person, a physicist who has an insight into emptiness, sees it. There's no difference. What they see is the same thing. That's amazing, okay? That the mind seeing it is different, full of compassion or full of wanting to publish a good paper. But what they understand has no difference at all, okay? If a physicist understands emptiness, which many are close to, I think, or a Buddha understands emptiness, or you see emptiness today, that's exactly the same emptiness that the Buddhists are seeing, and you see it as much as they do. They don't see it any more than you do. You see it 100%, and they see it 100%, because there's no degrees of emptiness, okay? Does your kitchen have mice?
Sometimes.
Yeah, if your kitchen has a mouse, right, then what do you want to do?
Send them out.
Yeah, you want to get him out of the kitchen, okay? This is important, okay? I'm not kidding, okay? So either there's mice in your kitchen or there's no mice in your kitchen. It's very simple, okay? Now, some kids in the monastery, the irritating 7-year-olds who sneak into the debate ground, and there are such things. They sneak into the debate ground. They say, teacher, what? How about the mouse has got his nose in the kitchen, but his butt is outside of the kitchen? Like you can imagine the mouse is halfway into the kitchen, right? Then it's not the mouse is in the kitchen, it's not the mouse is not in the kitchen. The mouse is kind of in the kitchen and the mouse is kind of not in the kitchen. Then we say, no, we reject this, okay? Either the kitchen is mouseless or it's not. It cannot be semi-mouseless. The whole idea of the mouse's nose in being in the kitchen and the butt's outside the door is false, okay? In that case, you have a mouse in your kitchen, okay? If his butt's in the kitchen, he'll poop in the kitchen and you'll know, okay? So either the mouse is in the kitchen or the mouse is outside the kitchen. There's only 2 states. It's like a binary on computer code, either 0 or 1. There's no 0.5 in computer code. Computers don't work on 0.5s, either 0 or 1, switched on, switched off. Why are we talking about that?
Either it's the same or not at all.
Either you see pure emptiness or you didn't see emptiness, and there's nothing in between. Got it? Either the mouse is not in the kitchen or the mouse is in the kitchen, and there's no degrees of mouse in the kitchen. There's no degrees. The emptiness that you see on the first day you see emptiness and the depth to which you see it, Buddha, Tattva Buddha, is no different from how the Buddha is seeing it right now. They're completely the same. In that sense, you are a complete Buddha at that moment that you see emptiness directly. You are Tattva Buddha. Okay, got it? Yay!